Two things are happening because Donald Trump is in the race. Number one, because of Donald Trump, all of the folks in the media are talking about illegal immigration. He has an incredible ability to cause the media to talk about an issue that is a serious problem. But a second benefit of Donald Trump's being in the race is the attention it is drawing. 24 million people watched that first debate. And I got to tell you, coming out of the debate, the momentum, the energy our campaign has seen is incredible.
Senator Ted Cruz talking about Donald Trump while he's at the Iowa State Fair today. As you take a live look in Alabama, the stadium's starting to fill up there. The Trump campaign says they've received 42,000 RSVPs for what would be a record crowd for either party. And as you heard Senator Cruz, Trump is leading as far as the issues, too, talking a lot about immigration. Take a listen to him on O'Reilly.
When people are illegally in the country, they have to go. Now, the good ones, and there are plenty of good ones, will work it so it's expedited. We can expedite it where they come back in, but they come back legally.
He's talking there about deporting illegal immigrants. Here's what Donald Trump told Newsmax in November of 2012. Quote, the Democrats didn't have a policy for dealing with illegal immigrants, but what they did have going for them is they weren't mean-spirited about it. He, Mitt Romney, had a crazy policy of self-deportation, which was maniacal. So what about all this talk and immigration and where we stand? Let's bring in our panel. David Cantonese, senior politics writer for U.S. News and World Report, editor-in-chief of LifeZette, Laura Ingram, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, Charles.
Well, I think Cruz is right. The thing he has done is he's brought unbelievable, unrelenting, wall-to-wall coverage of the Republicans, of Trump. That was true of the debate. What Cruz doesn't say is that, and I think this is the real downside, it has brought attention to the immigration debate. And in this debate, I'm with the Donald Trump of November 2012, when today he says he wants to deport all 11 million. And as we just heard, he said even self-deportation, which was the Romney position, what did he say? It was a crazy policy, maniacal, and mean-spirited. I think if that's maniacal and mean-spirited, forced mass deportation is much worse. And if that's the position that is now the center of Republican debate, it's catastrophic.
Laura.
57% of likely Republican voters, which is the key metric, today told Rasmussen that they think Donald Trump is going to be the nominee of the party. Now, it's a long way to the nomination. We got a year. And as we heard from the Jeb camp today in their piece that was clearly encouraged in Politico, they're prepared to do whatever is necessary to terminate any problem that comes in the fore, and Donald Trump is a problem. And so I think we can expect to see, with a huge Bush largesse, they have money to blow, and they're going to raise a lot more if necessary. They are going to do exactly what Charles just laid out. You said this, and now you say this. What's the real Donald Trump? Is it the maniacal policy, or is it something different? I think what he'll probably say in response is, you're talking to me about credibility? Is that right? Because the last time I checked, the voters think you campaign as a conservative when the going gets tough, Jeb. But then when you govern, you're going to do a whole bunch of things that a lot of the people don't think are conservative. I think he has a long road. I think people are predicting that he's going to be the nominee. I think it's going to be very difficult for all parties, and a lot of people are going to be very unhappy, but I think Cruz is right. There's a conversation that will be happening about a really important issue.
But you talk a lot about immigration, and on this issue, is this sellable, this forced deportation that he's talking about now?
I don't know if that's quite what he said. I mean, he said people have to go home. What position that will take, I mean, who knows what process that will take? I'm not sure. But what I do know is that those people lining up to in that stadium in Alabama, 35,000 or 20,000, maybe it's 20,000, who knows? They're a lot closer to Jeff Sessions' position on immigration, who gave the okay to Trump's position. They're a lot closer to Sessions than they are to Jeb Bush.
There was also, David, other candidates who are being forced into different kind of positions. This is Rubio and Walker today talking about the issue of anchor babies.
Anchor babies. People are talking about anchor babies.
Well, these are 13 million human. Those are human beings, and ultimately they're people. They're not just statistics. They're human beings with stories. But let's put that aside for a moment.
Birthright citizenship one of the things that makes America exceptional?
Yeah, yes, and that's why I'm not in favor of repealing the 14th Amendment.
I'm not taking a position on it one way or the other. I'm saying that until you secure the border and enforce the laws, any discussion about anything else is really looking past the very things we have to do.
He came out the other day and said, get rid of birthright citizenship, and a few hours later you said, me too.
No, actually, what I said earlier that day is I said a lot of the things he's talked about, I talked about months ago. I was on with
Were you talking about birthright citizenship months ago?
No, I was talking about the bigger issue of immigration. I talked about securing the border, enforcing the laws.
So, getting all different kinds of places, David.
The immediate impact Donald Trump has had as he has rattled these guys, especially this week. If you saw Jeb Bush, he said he was going to run a joyful campaign, not go on negative attacks. There he was in New Hampshire the other night, hitting Donald Trump saying he supported higher taxes. Scott Walker, Unintimidated is the name of his book. That's how he's running as a fighter. He wouldn't take a position on birthright citizenship after a few days of sort of showing both ways. You know, these guys are all tangled up, and they didn't think that this was the calculus they're going to have to be made. But the point you said before about Trump, they've already raised these issues with him, that he's been a flip-flopper. On cable news every night, he's taking these questions, and people in focus groups are saying they don't care if he's flipped. That's how mad people are. So the Jeb people may be plotting to go on the air with this, but the question is he impervious to the traditional political attack that has taken down the other flip-floppers in history?
And in fact, Trump tweeted out about Jeb Bush and using that term. Jeb Bush signed memo saying not to use the term anchor babies, offensive. Now he wants to use it because I use it. Stay true to yourself. I mean, he tweaks each one of these candidates every day, and you know, it's pretty amazing.
Look, even assuming that this is a winning issue, assuming that deporting 11 million people, which you'd expect might happen in Syria, won't happen in the U.S., shouldn't happen in the U.S., even assuming it's a winning issue, even assuming the repeal of the 14th Amendment is a winning issue, are these issues that Republicans want to actually advance? Do they actually think they're going to win a general election on these issues? I mean, the deportation, I think, is simply a scandal, and I think everybody knows that. A, it's not going to happen. B, it shouldn't happen in this country. But we are now discussing the issue of anchor babies or birthright citizenship. It is a sideshow because it's a symptom. If you control the border, those numbers will dwindle. And second, the issue is not the baby itself. It's the laws, the statutes, which are changeable, they're not constitutional, that change one baby into an imported village because of the preferences that we give to families. That ought to be the issue. That ought to be what we are discussing, and that's what you can change.
I mean, you're saying Congress can change it.
It's a statute, it's not a constitutional
There's quite a
issue.
debate about whether the 14th Amendment has to be repealed. I mean, I know a lot of people glibly say, well, you have to, that's not actually been settled, and they could do a whole hour on the jurisprudence surrounding that.
It's been around for 150 years.
Well, we actually didn't have a problem with illegal immigration in the mid-1800s, as we know. That wasn't an issue, and it was directed at the slaves who did deserve to stay here. So it really was an important clause, and the author of the clause, Howard Jacob, said it didn't apply to foreigners in the United States. But, you know, this is a long conversation. But back to the point of why Trump is resonating, Charles, and I know Trump's rise annoys a lot of people in this town, and I get it. But the people in this town who've been propping up two parties that have failed the middle class, failed them on the globalism game, where these trade deals have absolutely not delivered what they promised to deliver to the middle class, failed them on enforcing the border, failed them on all these ideas that America was going to export its values around the world and things were going to get a lot calmer. We see our power diminishing. We see our economic power diminishing in the home front, and people are frustrated, and you're right. They're ready to throw in with a guy who has all these conflicting positions, maybe, because the guys who said they were going to be consistent weren't, and they're not fighting for the people.
I mean, it's easy to go and attack Washington, and it's a clever dodge. The issue here is birthright citizenship. The issue is not the citizenship itself; it's the chain migration, and that ought to be what we are discussing.
And Bush and Obama didn't stop it. neither stopped it. Neither did McConnell or Boehner when they had the chance. They're not stopping it, and people are tired of it.
But that does not change the fact that talking about changing the birthright citizenship, which has been around for 150 years, is a sideshow for the real issue. I don't care who talked about it or who hasn't, but we are.
Well, most people don't think it's a sideshow, Charles. Most people actually think it's important. It's important that when people break into your home, you don't allow them to force you to take care of their family. Most people wouldn't do that in their own home, and they don't want us to do it in the United States.
We're going to have
migration as an issue.
It's a huge issue, in addition to the birthright problem. I talk about all these issues and have been for about 14 years on the radio.
Okay, this is going to be a super quick lightning round in the next segment, but I do want to get this breaking news. Jake Sullivan and Cheryl Mills will be interviewed by the Benghazi Select Committee on September 3rd and 4th. This is according to sources. Those are top aides for Hillary Clinton. So that'll be interesting. Next up, as we said, a quick lightning round.